Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this. Today, we're looking at Smart Path Academy's guide to mastering suspense. For this one, you're not just students, you're actually stepping into the shoes of a text detective. We're going to crack the code on how writers build tension and, more importantly, how you can use that knowledge to secure absolutely top marks on your Cambridge Checkpoint English exam. So grab your magnifying glasses because we've got some serious clues to track down.
Right. Here is our mission briefing. We're going to cover the secret to suspense, sensory clues like see, hear, and feel, a step-by-step exam strategy, some past paper-style practice, how to avoid common exam traps, and finally, a recap and a final challenge. Let's get moving.
Section 1. The secret to suspense. Let's find out what this actually is.
Well, you know that feeling when you're reading a story or watching a movie and you suddenly get that tight, nervous excitement in your stomach? You're literally on the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen next. That right there is suspense at work. It's that creeping feeling that something tense, mysterious, or even worrying is just around the corner. Now, writers don't just lazily tell you to be scared. They actually build up that atmosphere slowly, using a very specific toolkit. They use sensory details, purposeful delays, snappy short sentences, and questions they intentionally leave unanswered. Today, though, we're really going to focus heavily on those sensory details.
Which brings us to Section 2. Sensory clues. See, hear, and feel.
As a top-tier text detective, you need to know exactly what clues to look for when you arrive at the crime scene of a text. Keep this checklist firmly in your mind, because spotting these exact words is the very first step. We have hearing clues, like a floorboard's creak or a soft whisper. We have seeing clues, where a writer might describe darkness or a sudden hidden movement. And finally, feeling clues. These are usually body reactions. You know, like when a character froze, trembled, or held their breath. When you spot these words, a suspense alarm should be ringing in your head.
Section 3. Step-by-step exam strategy. Let's put this toolkit to work.
We're going to look at a real piece of evidence now. I call this one Text A, the corridor. Read through this with me and actively scan for those seeing, hearing, or feeling clues we just talked about. The corridor lights flickered twice. Somewhere behind the science store, a chair scraped across the floor, although everyone had gone home. Oof, I already have a chill. Did you spot the clues?
Now, here's how you'll actually be tested on this. These are your classic Cambridge Checkpoint-style questions. Question 1 asks you to identify the sense creating the suspense, and Question 2 demands the evidence. You really can't have one without the other in this exam.
And here is how we solve it, step by step. Thinking aloud through these 3 simple steps locks in that top mark answer. Step 1. Spot the clue. We notice the phrase, chair scraped. Step 2. Match it to a sense. Well, scraping is a sound, so the sense is hearing. Step 3. Write the exact short quote for your evidence. Just write, a chair scraped across the floor. Boom. Full marks. It really is that straightforward.
All right, Section 4, Past Paper-Style Practice.
You've got the strategy down perfectly, so let's move out to the field and examine text B, the box. Layla touched the old wooden box. It was cold, much colder than the room, and something inside it gave a soft knock. Notice that brilliant mixture there? We have feeling, it was strangely cold, and hearing, that unsettling soft knock.
The questions shift slightly for this type of text. Question 1, which detail creates suspense? Question 2, why? Notice that this time, the examiner wants the specific detail itself, plus an explanation of its effect on the reader. They want to know exactly why it makes you feel tense.
Now, look closely at the difference between a weak answer and a strong one, because this is where so many students drop easy marks. An answer to avoid is saying something like, it was scary and cold. It's just too vague. It doesn't explain the why. Instead, you want to do this. Give the detail, a soft knock, and then explain, it makes the reader wonder what is inside. That gives the correct detail and a precise explanation. The winning answer clearly explains the uncertainty that the clue creates.
Section 5. Avoid common exam traps. Let's decode the examiner's secret language. If you ever get a marked practice paper back and see these letters in the margin, here is exactly what went wrong. X means your answer was way too general or lacked exact detail. EV means your evidence is missing or it just doesn't match your explanation.
OW is a huge one. It means you copied too much from the text and needed to use your own words. And IR means you added irrelevant details that simply weren't asked for.
Let's practice beating that ow or own words trap with this spooky case. Text C, the window. At first, the window showed only rain. Then, a pale face appeared for 1 second and vanished. So the question here is, which sense is important and how does the writer create tension?
The crucial point is right here. If you just write, the face appeared for 1 second and vanished, you've triggered the OW trap. It's too much copying. You will not get the exclamation mark for just repeating the text. Instead, you need to identify the sense as sight and then use your own words for the effect. The face appears briefly and disappears, leaving uncertainty. That is top-tier detective work, using your own words to describe the tension.
Finally, Section 6, Recap and Final Challenge.
Detectives, you have mastered the sensory skills and decoded those examiner traps. It is time for your final case, straight from an October 2016 past paper. We'll call it the nightmare text. She sat up in bed, panting, staring at her with black, shining eyes. But how could it be a seal? It looked like a... Wow, wonderfully tense.
Here is your final challenge. Which is most important in building suspense? What Lucy hears, sees, or feels? Think about what stands out the most to you in that passage to build the tension. Is it her panting? Those shining eyes?
Well, let me reveal a massive mark scheme secret. The examiner actually allows hearing, sight, or feeling. You don't have to stress about guessing the one magical right answer in the examiner's head. You get the mark as long as your explanation and your text evidence actually match the sense you chose. If you pick sight, mention the black shining eyes. If you pick feeling, mention her panting in bed. Just back up your choice.
If you apply these strategies to your next checkpoint practice, I guarantee your answers are going to be sharper, clearer, and absolutely top mark worthy. Keep your eyes, ears, and feelings open for those clues, text detectives. But before we sign off, I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you feel a chill down your spine while reading a great book, stop and ask yourself, which one of your senses did the writer just hijack to put it there? See you next time on The Explainer.